Happy Thursday, everyone. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. The heat will be on repeat for another straight day as a ridge of high pressure continues to settle over the southwest, ushering in very warm temperatures. Here's what you need to know as we inch closer to the end of the work week and say hello to the weekend eventually. The heat will peak today, so the hottest day will be today, and then temperatures will drop a few degrees Friday, even more so this weekend. We do have the possibility of breaking some daytime highs, especially when it comes to interior parts of the county, specifically the desert areas. Everyone except for the coast as of yesterday is officially under either a heat advisory or an excessive heat warning. And temperatures, as I mentioned, will start to simmer down, but that won't happen until the weekend. That's when we'll start to feel a little bit of that noticeable cooling. So here's that ridge of high pressure. It will continue to expand westward, and due to a trough of low pressure, even though it's way to our north, that's going to give us some assistance in keeping things at bay in terms of that extreme heat when it comes to this weekend. All right, so here are your watches, warnings, and advisories currently blanketing much of the southwest. We have red flag warnings just to our northeast, extreme heat warnings to our east for areas like New Mexico as well as Arizona. And here in San Diego County, we have a heat advisory for much of the inland spots, including the valleys and the mountain areas, and that extreme heat warning impacting our deserts. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, the heat advisory, it's the level of heat we're expecting for the valleys and mountains in particular, where if you're susceptible to heat-related illnesses, you're a kid, elderly, just make sure that you're limiting your time outside. It's a lot more widespread when we have those areas under an extreme heat warning, which is for the deserts. That means everyone should make sure that they have adequate cooling systems and limit time outside, because we are expecting extreme heat in those pockets, and that includes neighborhoods like Ocotillo Wells as well as Borrego Springs. So here's what we're having for today, for today's highs, I should say. We're topping out in the low 80s in Oceanside. I have high 70s in Carlsbad as well as Del Mar, and low 80s on tap for downtown San Diego. For interior parts of the county, we saw a lot of 90s yesterday. We'll see the same thing today, if not more areas soaring close to that triple-digit mark. 100 degrees is what I'm forecasting for Ramona, and we could very well break a daily max record for Campo with a high of 102 later on today and a high close to 116 in Borrego Springs. They could also very well beat their daily max record. We're still keeping our eye on the Gifford fire. It's still blowing in smoke here in Southern California. Remember that smoke, a fine particulate matter. If you can't see it, doesn't mean it's not there. And that could cause issues for those who are susceptible to respiratory issues. So you want to limit time outside. If you have an air purifier, I would recommend running that. All right, overnight lows will be in the high 60s for both the coast and the inland valleys in our most populated neighborhoods. So we're not seeing too much of a relief when it comes to those sundown and darker hours, which is why that heat, it just kind of compounds, and that's why we're under those heat advisories and excessive extreme heat warnings. Here's what I have for tomorrow's highs. We'll shave off a few degrees, but we're still soaring close to 80 degrees for the coastal spots, and we'll still be in the 90s for much of the mountain and inland valleys, and still in that triple-digit heat for the desert areas. Here's what I have on tap for the next 7 days. We'll cool down a few degrees for Friday, and we'll pretty much stay in the range of the high 70s. That's still slightly above average all the way through early next week. For the inland valleys, tomorrow we're still looking at excessive heat, especially for those neighborhoods that will be close to 100. Ramona, El Cajon, Santee, I'm talking to you. And then we'll eventually drop down to the high 80s. That's what we'll average by the time we get to the weekend. The mountain and desert areas, mid-90s on tap for the first half of the weekend, and then we'll shave off a few degrees come Tuesday and Wednesday. And then for the desert communities, close to 115 to wrap up your work week, and then we're closer to that 110, 109 range by the time we get to the weekend.